Today, we're going to speak a bit about the Kedusha and the connection between us and Hashem. And it's interesting because it relates to several areas in Jewish life. 1967, right before the Six-Day War, the Rabbi started a campaign of tefillin. By the way, people used to do the tefillin even before then, Chabad. But it was on a low key. If you knew a friend, if you knew someone, you would offer him to put on tefillin, but it wasn't on such a high key. And before that 1967 war, so the Rebbe made it a big thing. And many people asked, what is the purpose and what is the point behind making a person put on tefillin for once? It's just one time, one opportunity that he's going to have to put on tefillin, and that's it. You don't build a connection afterwards. It's good to build a connection, but that's not part of the mivtzah. That's not part of the idea. Okay, Tov. The idea is that the tefillin for itself is worthwhile. And the question here is, why? How does it work?
Best thing I learned about
Yeah.
is that it's connecting the mind and the heart.
Yeah. That is the kavanah that we should have when you put on tefillin. Tefillin shabarosh. But if it's once that a person...
two things.
Yeah.
The mind isn't so good. The heart's questionable. Not joking.
Each one has its part. One of the things, what do we say, what?
The best I ever heard was Benjamin Friedman. Who said, you want to put on tefillin to someone. And the guy said, I believe in God. And he said, who asked you?
That's not the question, right? 100%. But again, but what is the purpose? That strengthens the question, because it's right. Even if a person, another version of that is when a person says, I don't believe in God, so you tell him, I have a special tefillin for you, tefillin for non-believers. So he puts on that tefillin.
It's a multicolored film.
Yeah. It's everyone can connect to it. But what is the rationale behind it? If a person is not a believer, what is the point to tell him follow this this path or do this act? Why?
Excuse me, but you don't say verastig.
It doesn't say it over there? No, we don't say it.
But you say one bracha.
We say one bracha, yeah.
And why is it two brachas?
Because if there's a hefsek, so we say it. Even
so, you don't say it even umechach matcha. Okay. Just one bracha.
One bracha.
And verastig?
Also we don't say. Yeah. Okay. There is the nusach of the bracha that we say is Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav. What does Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav mean? So the literal explanation is that Hashem sanctified us by giving us the mitzvahs. Okay. Not only what is sanctifying, what does sanctifying mean? Becomes holy. We become holy by doing the mitzvahs. Separate. We are separated by doing the mitzvah. The same way as a person says to a lady, Harei at mekudeshet li. Kiddushin comes from the word kedusha, which mainly means separation. Now you're separated from the rest of the world. You belong to me. So that is the idea of the mitzvahs. And here we're going to see that each mitzvah, the moment we fulfill it, it's an everlasting bond with Hashem. There's no way to disconnect it, no matter what. So even if someone, let's say, does not do mitzvahs later on, it doesn't mean that the mitzvah that we did in the past is pointless.
The bond has been created.
Exactly. You have one connection to Hashem. No one can take that away from you. So we try and look at the service of Hashem as a long-term relationship that we're trying to establish, we're trying to build. There's not much of belief between the two. Let's see how it works out. And based on that, after 20 years of service, then we can say whether you really belong to HaShem or not. That is the way we would look at it, because that's any other type of relationship in the world. Whether it's even in the workplace, whether it's between your spouse, all of these things, and it's very different to HaShem, very different to a mitzvah. When it comes to HaShem and when it comes to the mitzvahs, HaShem is above time. So once you form that bond and connection once, it lasts forever. And not only that, we have a mutual connection. Mount Sinai, part of Mount Sinai was to establish that connection. Ubanu bachalta mikol ha'amim, that Hashem chose us. He also forced us over there. He lifted up the mountain, placed it on top of our heads, and said, if you're not, you're going to be buried here.
Where is it?
Sorry?
Where is
Where's what?
this mountain?
That's a Midrash.
No, where?
Gotta find it exactly, the exact source. But, sorry?
You can't hear it.
The mountain
You're
there.
looking for the mountain or the Midrash?
Mount Sinai, LC9.
The mountain is different from the Mount Sinai receiving it.
But the idea is
Right.
that it's a bond that's everlasting, which means it's not like, it's something natural. Hashem caused it, that serving Hashem, that Judaism, it's not like any other religions. And Rabbi Manis Friedman likes to speak about this a lot. He says that any other religion, so of course people don't want to keep the religion, and the religion's questionable because it's something that's separate from you. It's different. So you've got to follow following a routine, or following a certain diet, or anything like that. So you don't want to do it. You don't. But
Crazy.
sorry.
What they believe in is crazy.
Yes, but even religions that they don't believe in crazy, the easygoing religions.
There is no religion that doesn't believe in crazy, except for Judaism. Because Judaism.
People would
was the
say
way
the opposite. You look at the amount of mitzvahs that you have.
religion
How many mitzvahs do you have?
viewed by millions of people.
Yes.
You can't question the Rasul. It
Okay.
is factual beyond factual. All the others, one person gets a Michigan,
That-
they say,
okay.
you're supposed to believe that?
Right, but that's
That's
just one
crazy.
point. How many mitzvahs are there in Judaism
613.
and in other religions?
Not so
Much, not so many. So people might say, you know what, I prefer other religions. But the difference is, and this is what the Rebbe always wrote to people that spoke to him about Torah and mitzvahs. The Rebbe said that for us, a religion is something natural.
No, it's beyond natural.
It's something natural in that way that it fits, it suits us. So that's why by doing the mitzvahs, each and every mitzvah, the moment we do it, it is ours. That's it. No one can take it away. There is a Gemara. The Gemara says that you have to stand up in front of a person doing a mitzvah. Even if he's not a Talmud Chacham, he's not like a rabbi, he's not like learning in yeshiva, he just does a mitzvah, you have to stand up in front of it. It's not the halacha. The halacha doesn't bring it down because this is like an extra thing to do, an extra good deed to do. But where did it come from? Why should I stand up for someone that's doing a mitzvah? There's Kedusha over there. The moment he does this mitzvah, he's connecting now to Hashem. So of course we've got to show respect towards that.
Is that a mitzvah?
Sorry, standing up.
That's in the
That's-
Gemara?
Yeah, it's a
Oh.
Gemara.
How come it's not brought down as a
Halacha? Because some of the things in the Gemara are more mile de chasiduta, as they say. It's more like good ways to serve Hashem, but not as mamish halacha lemaisa that a person has to mamish go and do. So it's in the Tehillim we have some of the psalms were written by King David himself. Other of the psalms were written Mizmor Asaf. Some of them Tfilah LaMoshe. Moshe Rabbeinu said some of the psalms. So it's very interesting. And one of the things that Asaf says in Ruach HaKodesh is Va'ani ba'ar velo eda behemot hayiti imach Va'ani tamid imach. That is the verse. And the meaning of the verse is, Va'ani bar velo eda. I am a fool that will never understand. Behemot hayiti imach. I'm like an animal compared to you in a certain way. A behemoth. Right?
Yeah, but
Va'ani tamid imach. But I am always with you. What's going on here with Asaph?
Okay.
On the one hand, he's comparing himself to an animal compared to Hashem, which means he doesn't even understand Hashem's ways. And that's how it'll always be. V'ani ba'a v'lo yeda. I'm not going to know Hashem's ways. But nevertheless, he says, V'ani tamid imach. What does that mean? That I'm always with you. V'ani tamid imach.
We follow his mitzvah even though we don't understand it.
Okay. But does that make you imach? Maybe you could say, I'm a follower. Even though I don't understand, I follow what you want, what you tell me to do. So that is but when he says, Va'ani tamid imach, I am with you. So how does that work together?
we have Chachma being a God.
Even without the Chachma bin Endad. Let's speak the simple idea behind it, just the simple level.
Well, that's what Chabad told out.
So what the Alter Rebbe says is like this. The Alter Rebbe gives who said the following? Ariel, you said that we follow Hashem even though we don't understand. That's a good explanation.
Like a chok, we never
Like a chok, right.
We do it.
And we do it. So that is about the level of what's called nefesh. Nefesh is the koach ha'ma'aseh, action. So you are interpreting the verse in connection and in relation to the power of ma'aseh, to power of action, to the nefesh.
Okay.
That's one level. So in other words, if Asaf is telling us, you don't understand Hashem, you're not on the same level. If we would want to compare you to Hashem, it would be like comparing an animal and a human. But nevertheless, follow him lema'aseh. And that is one explanation. Well, then we can go even higher. Klomar she'af al pi shani kebehema b'yosi imach v'lo eda v'lo argish benafshi. Here we're speaking about ruach. Ruach has to do with the emotion. Ruach has to do with the feeling. So it's like a person saying, I don't know what's happening here. I follow Hashem, but not only that, I don't feel anything. It's like when we do a mitzvah and we expect the Kedusha. And sometimes we look for the excitement in the Kedusha. When we do a mitzvah, we want to be excited about it. We want to feel holy, but we don't feel that holiness.
Mm-hmm.
So that is another concern, and soon we'll speak about it. And not only that, but what does he mean when he wants the emotion? He wants to fear Hashem, and then he wants to love Hashem, like the tzaddikim. So that is what bothering Asaph, speaking to Hashem. He's telling Hashem, I don't feel always excited about doing your mitzvahs. So, and afal pichein ani tamid imach, which means that the soul does have that feeling. So we might not feel it in our bones, let's say, but the nefesh is already connected. The nefesh has that bond.
And nefesh is below.
The ruach has that bond, we would say.
Nefesh and neshama, I always
Yeah.
confuse the two.
So the neshama,
is a higher level.
ruach, and nefesh.
Ah.
And now parallel to intelligence, which is the logic, which is chokhmah bin adas neshama. Ruach is spirit, which means emotion, and nefesh, which is the soul, which is maaseh, the action.
But there's also,
So, yeah.
there's also a dictum somewhere that it only really counts if you're doing it because you have to,
Not because you feel it, you want to, right? So that is perhaps the first level that Ariel spoke about, which is the fukim, which is the laws. You do something even though you don't really understand or feel connected, but you do it. And there, the emphasis is on doing. Here, Asaph is bothering something else, is upsetting him in a certain way. He's saying, I'll do it. but I want to feel excited about Yiddishkeit. I want it to inspire me. I want to walk into the sukkah and I want to feel the lights that they're all speaking about. Where are the lights? So Asaf says, Va'ani tamid imach. The bond of the neshama of the neshama is always there, which means that these emotions, they are there. And sometimes we're waiting for the right time for them to be expressed. But the neshama has that bond and connection already.
Despite that, we don't feel the emotion.
Right. But it's not that it's not there. The emotion is there, but it's concealed in a certain way. And here it's very interesting because I heard an interesting shir about the time, and we learned about the time that Hasidus came into town and was introduced to the world. And there was something very important about the timing, because it's a researcher that he does research and he has a museum and things like that. So one of the things that he said is that Hasidus came into the time where Judaism in a certain way did not have excitement in the mitzvahs to offer. Which means that if you had the ratzon, if you were educated in that way, if you understood why, if you had good education, maybe you would do the mitzvahs. But there was no excitement. Everything was cold. And Shabtai Tzvi and Yaakov Frank,
the false messiah.
the false messiahs, they came and they offered excitement without mitzvahs. Like Frank, he removed a lot of the mitzvahs. He said, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, don't worry about that. But on the other hand, he brought in a lot of excitement, dreaming about the times of Mashiach and a lot of singing, a lot of dancing.
That's Reform Judaism?
And that's the beginning of Reform Judaism. That's where he's not known as the establisher of Reform Judaism, but that's where it came into.
Right. My wife calls that the Frankenstein system.
Frankenstein
system.
Yeah. So Hasidus came exactly at that point. Because yes, Am Yisrael, we needed to wake up. It was a terrible exile. All the times when Gzeiros used to happen, tragedies like Tach and Tat, all of these pogroms that happened, so Am Yisrael, they were looking for some kind of salvation. And it's like the son's Klosenberg Rebbe, who survived the Holocaust, but 11 of his children and his wife were killed. And he built the son's Hasidus in Israel. He built the hospital of Laniado. Moshe, you were born in Laniado, in that hospital. And it's a very, very nice special hospital. Haredim and Netanya.
She was born in Netanya.
She was born in Netanya, yes. So it's interesting that he had a mission to build a hospital. That was his mission. But one of the things he said, what was his hardest time in the camps was the moment they were freed. Because, and why is that? Why would you say that he was expecting some kind of change. They would be freed and Mashiach will come. They would be freed and suddenly everyone would become really good people. But what happened is people were freed and you continue life business as usual. That's it.
Yeah.
And that is the most disappointing. So in that same way, Am Yisrael, after any type of tzarot, they were always looking for something to take them out of exile, something to inspire them. And that's when Hasidus kicked in. Hasidus kicked in right after Shabtai Tzvi and the Frankistim and all of that. Why? To help Yidden with that point. Because most of the Jews, they lived and they had a very tough life.
Very impoverished. There's a lot of poverty.
Right.
And this also helped with the situation, the financial and all that.
Right. By the way, the Baal Shem Tov, why is he called the Baal Shem Tov? Where does this name come from?
Good word. Say a good word.
Okay, so they say a good word, like in Pirkei Avot, that a person has a Shem Tov, he's got a good name, or he says good word. There were other people that were also known as the Baal Shem. They were not known as Baal Shem Tov, but they were known Baal Shem, Baal Shem. Baal Shem means master of the name. that these people knew special names that cured Jews. And not only Jews. There's a story about last week's parsha.
There was Hasidim too?
So the Hasidim, they were the beginners of Hasidus. But before the Baal Shem Tov, his rabbis, the Baal Shem Tov's rabbis was Baal Shem, I forgot of where, Baal Shem from this town, Baal Shem from that town. It started a bit before the Baal Shem Tov.
They were really the true beginners.
Yes, yes. And not only, and something else interesting that I learned is that there's a proof that the Baal Shem Tov lived. Some researchers say that Baal Shem Tov is a myth. He didn't really live. It's a Jewish story. It's a tale, but it's not true. That's what they say. There's no book from the Baal Shem Tov, by the way. So they claim that he didn't live. But they looked into the Reshimot, and that's thanks to the tax office. The one thing that they can help us with is that there'll always be a true, identical evidence to the people to a person. And there it says, Rabbi Israel, Mimejibush,
Wow.
doctor.
Was he a doctor?
They called it, yeah. And why was he a doctor? He did not study medicine. Probably in those days, in eastern Ukraine and in Poland and in Lithuania, no one was really a doctor besides in the big cities of Vilna or Warsaw, those places. There were no doctors in small towns like Mezhibush. He was a doctor because he knew how to cure people. And how would he cure them? Baal Shem, master of name. And we know that Hasidus came, like you said, to help Yidden from poverty, from their struggles. When they had a problem with this pirate, so they needed to come to the tzaddik to help him. When they had a problem over there, so they knew that they could turn to a tzaddik.
They almost, okay. Like, there's miracles, basically.
So it's miracles, 100%. It's miracles, but Hashem gave them the tools. Hashem gave them the power, and it's a high revelation that it could be generations before that. We don't know of miracles that were flying around. Miracles do not, from time to time there was a miracle, but it wasn't. But then again, because the Jews were on such a low level, spiritually and physically, Hashem needed to bring us what is called Tal Techia. The Tal, like the rain of Techias HaMesim, to... Yeah. So that is what all based on what Asaf is telling us.
What are you reading from, Rabbi?
This is Tanya. This is Tanya. Yeah. I didn't make today copies, but this is the chapter 46, and maybe we'll do also a bit of 47. And so this is, in other words, what Asaf is telling us is that the bond with us and Hashem always is there. And there's the Alter Rebbe speaks about the negative side of things as well. And the Alter Rebbe has a question. You know, you punish someone according to the understanding of what they did. You can't come to a child, for example, and punish him for, looking for the right word, for the right example.
They didn't understand.
For not understanding, right? And why is that?
They don't know
How could you be expected to?
No, they might.
Exactly. You don't expect them to understand. How could they understand? They don't understand. So what are you punishing them for? How you can't? Yeah. And Einshim Ellen can Mazhirin basically needed to go and needed to warn the people. You can't just always go. We think that in Judaism it's very strict, punishable by death. All these death punishments. Oh, Hashem is such a cruel creator. He wants to punish us. It was so hard to kill a person by Beis Din. Once every 70 years, if the Beis Din would kill, it is considered to be a Bet Din Katlani, which means a deadly Beis Din.
Plus, it's hard. You have to have two witnesses. They have to warn you.
Exactly.
It's like you have to.
You have to know what
steps before you're convicted of.
Right. And not only that, you have to tell the witnesses, I know that I'm not allowed to do it, but nevertheless, I'm doing it.
It almost makes it impossible. You have to be stupid to do that.
Okay, you can go. I can ask Ariel for cracking.
I'm gonna crack something. Okay.
You can go ask Ariel. So, so this is, so one of the question is, so let's say a person doesn't really understand the Kedusha, he doesn't understand the holy lights that are here. So what do you expect from him? And let's speak about Shabbos, the Melechas Shabbos, or Pesach. Let's say a person says that if a person does an Aveira on Shabbos, so he faces the punishment of karet. So even without the witnesses, we're not talking about the witnesses.
It was capital punishment back then.
Exactly, right. So it was capital punishment, but the difference between the Beis Din and karet is up to HaShem.
Right.
So he has his ways of doing it, let's say. But so the punisher will by Beis Din that you don't do because there's no witnesses. Perhaps the guy doesn't even know he's doing it by mistake. But HaShem says that if someone does a certain Aveira, he's chayav kares. His neshama is disconnected from its source. Why? It's an amaret.
And he doesn't understand.
And he doesn't even understand.
Because we're supposed to understand. We're supposed to go out of our way to understand.
Right. So that's one thing that a person has to try and make an effort to understand. That's why, for example, today, and the Rambam speaks about it, if we want to describe HaShem in human terms, so it's avodah zarah. It's disrespect towards HaShem. In those days, a person could say, yes, HaShem has a hand. Why? Because people then were much more simple, and based on the verses from the Tanakh, they could say, oh, it says the eyes of God, it says the sword of God, the hand of God, biyad chazakah, so HaShem has a hand. But today, no one can say that. Because, like you said, we already should go out of our way. Not only should, but we've gone out of our way. We've learned that. So that's one thing, right? We have a responsibility to learn. But what about a person, again, maybe this person for some reason couldn't learn. Why is that correct? More so, we should have a lot of care towards those Yidden that unfortunately don't keep Yiddishkeit. And once the Rebbe said, there's a few stories, mainly about so I don't remember I remember the Rebbe's answer. I don't remember the story that was brought at the beginning about it. But the point that that someone told the Rebbe, it's not my sin. It's not my sin, which means it's not my responsibility. So the Rebbe says, what does it matter whose sin it is? It's a sin.
We're all responsible for each other.
Right.
We're supposed to be.
Right. And more so, or based on the responsibility comes from the point that we are all connected. So, chas v'shalom, if I sin, it's going to cause all of Am Yisrael a less zechuyot.
A rift.
Yeah. So in that case, once again, we have the same question. So that's what the Rebbe said. What is the difference between whether it's your sin, it's my sin? We are all working on one project, and here there's one that's missing out. So also on the positive side, we should have, and this is why the Rebbe did the whole idea of shlichut and batei Chabad, right? The batei Chabad that are overseas and batei Chabad that deal with people that are not from at all. Why is that? It's because the Rebbe saw that there's a collective responsibility over all of Am Yisrael to follow the ways of HaShem, to keep the mitzvahs, not to do Averos. That's why we do it. It's not that it's just because we want to be nice people and show how. It's also nice to do Ahavat Yisrael to increase. But one of the biggest things is that, yes, people should keep more mitzvahs and stay away from the Averos.
You're saying when you're doing a mitzvah, you're not doing it.
That's one thing. That's a pure gain first and foremost, but also the mitzvah itself, whatever it is. But the idea that the Rebbe said is that we have a collective responsibility. But why is that? A person doesn't know, is not aware. Exclude him from Am Yisrael. The Rebbe was not prepared to give up on any Yid, even if for some reason that Yid himself is not interested. And we know the Alter Rebbe brings a an example that we drag HaShem with us wherever we go. Imo anochi b'tzara, HaShem is with us for the good and for the opposite. For the good means that if we want to gain courage and strength from that, so perfect. So we'll get it. But on the other side, if we do a sin, we're dragging HaShem with us into that sin.
That's why the Rabbi sent his shluchim all over the world.
Right. And for that reason, to get more and more Yidden closer and closer to Yiddishkeit and less into Averos. Again, not in that title of stay away from Averos. Other people like to do it. I don't know if it works. Maybe it does, and maybe they're doing also something good. Again, we have the collective responsibility, each one in his way. And why is that? That's also in the words of Asaf. When Asaf tells us in Ruach HaKodesh that behemot hayitimach, it's like, what kind of expectation you have from a cow that he doesn't listen to? You shouldn't have expectations from the cow. But Asaf says, no. Va'ani tamid imach. Every Yid is connected to HaShem. Every Yid has this bond that, and if he doesn't practice it, if he doesn't use it, or if he uses it in the wrong way, so it's a chaval. We are all losing out.
That's also because our neshama comes from above, so it's innately connected.
Exactly, right. So, that's the point. Above logic, above feeling, we don't understand what he wants, but we have this bond. That's all. It's automatic.
I think the bonding is the.
And maybe you're saying, I just want to finish with what Ari Levi is saying. Maybe so. What expectations could we have? It's not by choice. You're right. It's not by choice. That was Matan Torah, that Hashem said, listen, guys, it's nice that you want to receive the Torah. No one else wants to receive the Torah, but I'm also going to force you. By forcing is not only when you force someone, it's not only because you have something against him and you want to go against him. No. Forcing is you telling him that, listen, there's no way out of this. That's it. We are connected. And sometimes we need this. That's why do we do a chuppah? Why do we do a chuppah? Okay. People want to get married. They'll get married.
Well, we sanctify the sanctification.
Exactly. And by that, we are bringing HaShem here, and we're saying that there's no way out. That's right. Of course, there is. Yeah.
I have knowledge about this.
Yeah. No. So that's definitely, there is a way out, but the way out has to be done formally in the same way that it's the way in. Yeah, which means that, so in other words, right, so without the Kiddushin, you would say, what do you want? Just live together, decide that you are married, and that's it. Why do we have to do the chuppah and the Kiddushin? And it's because we're bringing HaShem here into the picture as well. He's part of it. And therefore, in that case, we want to bring the dagesh that it is something that is an everlasting bond. So for some reason, sometimes, yes, there could be gerushin, but it's an additional process.
You have to make it official.
Sorry?
We put together the two different parts of the same neshama.
Right, exactly.
I think it's the ultimate expression of free will.
What?
You choose to do that, which means that you're searching for your portion.
Say it again. The ultimate.
I would suggest
is the ultimate.
The ultimate represents the ultimate expression of free will
of your wife's free will. You didn't get it.
I do get it.
Okay.
But and the point is, the part that I like the best is the idea of searching for your portion in the Torah.
Yeah.
That's a lifelong thing.
If you're a portion of your neshama, it's even more than that.
But your portion in the Torah, which part of the Torah is your part? That to me is the most exciting journey.
אבל למה צריך לעשות את זה? תעשה את זה רשמית, תעשה מודעה בעיתון. Some people, they like to put an advert in the newspaper. If you want to make it formal,
About what?
about that they're getting married.
Oh.
So if you want to make it formal, you go to the municipality, you make it formal.
It's not formal. It's not like on paper. I mean, like the people sign the documents and they exchange exchange.
But is it compulsory? It's
What?
compulsory
Yeah.
to have it for some criteria.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yes.
You do the Rabbanut.
But the Rabbanut is reporting.
Yeah. So they don't do it automatically. You've got to go in, you've got to do it separately.
If they don't,
It's a good question.
so is
I know a lot of couples that it took them 2-3 years because they didn't see a reason. You get married by the Rabbanut.
if you don't do it, and hospital going at the hospital, the husband is not allowed
Yeah, right,
to get in.
right, right. Yeah. Here there's a combination between the two. But again, the point is that we're bringing HaShem here into the picture. And by bringing HaShem into the picture, we are making this like an everlasting bond. That's the plan A. Plan B, there's always plan B for sure. Okay. So once again, this is why there's a karet, and this is what the Alter Rebbe says, that also on the negative side of things, yes, there's karet. If a person doesn't keep the laws of Shabbos, or he doesn't keep the laws of Pesach, there's karet. Why is it such a severe punishment? What do you want for the person? Let him choose. No, this is a bond that we have with Hashem, and let's look at the positive side of things. There's so many positive sides of this bond. The biggest positive side is that we are part of Him. That's it.
If so,
We are.
the positive part,
Yeah.
or all is positive, why do we say all?
Why do we say all?
Yes.
Yeah, because that without the all, it starts from a all. That all means the yoke of Hashem, Kabbalat all. Yes. That's the connection. The interpretation afterwards is look at it in a good way. There's
But all is something good in itself. Even a paraduma, she must never have had an all on her.
Shelo ala le'ol.
But we
Paraduma we can't understand. And not only that, it says that
So I
Okay.
guess I'm still a little hazy. So
Yeah.
why should a person receive karet if they don't understand? I guess I still don't understand. I'm thinking of like the Shabbos.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many rabbinical laws about this and how to do this, and it's almost like it's so hard to understand. Even somebody that's quote unquote observant can sometimes transgress something. Should they get
Right.
karet?
The Alter Rebbe says that we should learn every Shabbos Hilchot Shabbat, because that's one of the halachot, and it's very true. You open the Shulchan Aruch, you discover so many additional halachot and concerns that there are when it comes to Shabbos. And when it comes to Isur V'Heter, which means milk and meat, when you open the Shulchan Aruch, you see that it's much easier than what you think. Kashrus, we are very makpid about. Shabbos, there's so many prohibitions that we're not always aware of. So not all of the prohibitions are punishable by karet.
Right.
So that's important to know.
Probably the rabbinical ones.
but
The
they don't
rabbinical ones.
but they don't teach it to us.
The what?
But they don't teach this to us.
Who's they?
What?
In the yeshiva, let's say, they don't teach you that this is not correct. They say, don't do it because you get correct, even if you don't get correct.
It depends. Depends what. It depends which halachot. The other thing is that, and this is the point that the Alter Rebbe wants to tell us over here, is that yes, we've got this automatic bond, and it's working without us. It's there without us.
Right, because their neshama is connected.
Exactly. So it's there without us interfering. Or if we do interfere, so we can cause a strengthening of this bond, or unfortunately, we could cause a separation in a certain way. So, so let's say when we speak about the Hilchot Shabbat, yes, even a person that he could do everything 100%, but on Shabbat he doesn't know certain things. It's like the Alter Rebbe also says it when it comes to tefillin. What happens if a person forgot to put on tefillin one day? Could happen. So the light does not exist. There's no light over there. There's nothing you could do about it. You could have 1,000 excuses and it could be okay. You know, they'll tell you, you know what? We're not going to punish you in Shamayim because you didn't know. But the separation has happened. So there's two things. There's like the punishment and there's the reality. The punishment, we could say a person that did not know, he's not accountable. He's not accountable. You can't go and judge him. He did not know what you want from him. But that's the whole point of the karet, that the karet has nothing to do with it's not a punishment. It's the neshama, it's like a fish that lives in the water. The neshama has to rest on Shabbos. And the moment you take the fish out of the water, with the best excuse, he's not to be blamed, there was no water, dried up, whatever it is, but he has no way of living. That's again that Judaism is like natural. The mitzvahs are our natural, like the body needs food, needs oxygen, needs water, the neshama needs mitzvahs. And the Rebbe said to many people that felt that they had some emptiness in life or some struggles in life that were a bit too much, the Rebbe said, add more Torah and mitzvahs. That will give you more sipuk, more will fill you up, you'll have more simcha. So that's basically the idea behind this chapter 46. So it's a natural connection.
In a way, or in another way, that kind of the same shiur with the rabbi of Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But the conclusion are always different. His to yours.
What is his conclusion? That we have to.
It's just.
Okay, in Chassidus, a lot of the ideas they are. And I think also
it's the attitude to what we read.
Yeah.
How they are explained. Right. Your way of explaining is according to real life.
Yeah. Okay,
his way of explaining is according to
the text more.
Not what it is, what it
should be.
What it should be.
Yeah. Okay. Each one on his level. He's on a higher level, so that's the.
Well, it's a matter of opinion.
Okay. Chapter 47. This is a short chapter, and it says that we have to feel as if we yatzanu miMitzrayim, as if we've left Egypt. What are we referring to every single day? We leave Egypt today? Not that I know of, not yesterday, not 2 days ago. The Alter Rebbe says, V'hiyetzias nefesh ha'elokit mima'asar ha'guf mashcha dechavia. The skin of a snake. It's the neshama leaving the body. Likalel b'yichud erin sofer ere'esek ha'toyer v'amitzvos bechlal u'bifrat b'kabolas ha'malchus shamayim, by saying, Shema Yisrael, HaShem Elokeinu, HaShem Echad. The neshama is looking for these escapes. And that's the same, similar to the idea of Noah's Ark. So it doesn't say that every day we should run into Noah's Ark. There's no such a verse. But Hasidus does explain how Noah's Ark is relevant for us today. And the Ark in the Torah is known as Teva. What? Teva.
The word.
The word, so what's the interpretation of Teva? One interpretation is word.
Nature.
The original one that we are speaking about, the teva, is the ship. But the other interpretation, translation, is teva means a word. So in other words, we should escape. We should go into Noah's Ark. We mean Noah's Ark. We need Noah's word.
Going to mitzvahs and
Going to mitzvahs, going to Torah, going to tefillah. All of these words, they bring us a bit of an escape.
it's a
Doesn't
deeper
it mean freedom from?
Sorry?
Freedom from.
From what? From Mitzrayim. From
Slavery.
slavery. If you think about it in the eyes of the neshama is here in jail. It's in a body, and it doesn't want to be in that body. The body limits it, the soul. The soul cannot express itself.
So that's why we think of that every day, to have freedom from.
But yeah, exactly.
And that's freedom from the desert.
Right. Through connecting to Torah and tefillah, to learning and prayer and davening and mitzvahs.
And to teach.
Yeah. The Seder, okay, so we're going to stop here.